Today, we're going to address the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips, the Yankee gang. This gang is one of the oldest and largest Crip gangs in Compton, California, and have a lot of daily situations and people attached to the gang. We'll address history, some insane stories, and we'll go over the current state of this gang. And from well-known situations like murder robberies, setups, extortion schemes, and several gang injunctions placed on the gang due to their violent activities, the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips, they definitely have a story to tell. Yeah. All right. Welcome to Cali's Most Dangerous. Let's get into it.
We started Compton Crip, original grandees from the block gang. We started the block. We the first niggas set the block. We the first niggas set the block. And it was 165, West Side, Grandee, motherfucking block. Everybody else didn't want to do nothing, baby.
Herbert Charles Miller, also known as Baby Hen, Javon Lamar Brown, also known as Bam, and Jeffy McLeod, also known as J Stash, were all known members of the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips. And the Kid Willer lived at 1027 Exmore Avenue in Compton, California. He had grown up in the Exmore neighborhood and people knew he was a marijuana dealer. Willer was not a gang member, however, and he had never had any issues with the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips before this incident. Michael Leggett was Willer's friend and he also didn't bang. On a late afternoon on November 9th, 2005, several teenage boys were standing on an 1100 block of Exmore Avenue, which is in the Nutty Blocc Crips territory. A black Pontiac Grand AM with tinted windows in the rear drove up slowly and down the street, then pulled up next to the teenagers. They could see two African-American men in the car, the driver and the front seat passenger. Because of the tinted windows, they couldn't see if anyone was in the back. The passenger then asked the teenagers if they were affiliated with ATF, which is a gang who are one of Nutty Blocc's top rivals. When they said no, someone in the car shouted, "It's Nutty Blocc Compton Crip," and the Pontiac drove off. A few hours later, around 8:15 p.m., the Kid Willer pulled into his driveway in a red Ford Explorer. Michael Leggett was either in a vehicle with Willer or waiting for him in the front of Willer's house. A neighbor saw silhouettes on Willer's driveway and heard 4 or 5 people, including Willer, argue for about 3 to 4 minutes. It sounded like an angry confrontation. The neighbor then heard a gunshot, then sounds of someone running, and more gunshots afterwards. The first gunshot was not as loud as the ones that followed. Other neighbors who heard the gunshots also testified the initial shot seemed to come from a less powerful weapon than the remaining shots. A neighbor who lived on the 1100 block of Exmore saw a dark Pontiac or Oldsmobile drive down the street at around 5 or 6 p.m. Later that evening, the neighbor was inside his home when he heard gunshots. He went to close his front door, then he saw 2 people firing weapons standing next to that same car. The neighbor saw Leggett running and the car drive away southbound on Exmore after the shooting. Leggett was found laying unconscious on the front lawn of 1035 Exmore Avenue. He died from a gunshot wound to the back. Willer was found face down on the ground in the backyard of 1026 Exmore Avenue. He had been shot in the back, arm, and elbow. Willer too also died from his wounds. Willer's pants had been pulled down to mid-thigh. 2 $5 bills and 1 $1 bill were found inside his pants. A single $5 bill was also found in the front lawn of Willer's house. Willer's SUV was sitting in his driveway with the doors open and the keys still in the ignition. The SUV reeked of marijuana, but no sizable amount of the drug was found inside the vehicle. Also, no significant amount of money was found in or near the vehicle. 5 spent .45 caliber cartridge cases were found in Willer's home, and 2 spent 39mm rifles cartridges were found in the street. Ballistic tests showed that 2 guns had been fired at the scene. A .45 caliber semi-automatic handgun and a semi-automatic rifle. A Ruger Mini 30 rifle is one of the weapons that typically fires a 7.62 by 39mm bullet. DP was about 2 blocks from East Exmore Avenue when he heard the gunshots. Within minutes after the gunfire ended, Brown and McLeod, along with the unidentified third man, ran past DP towards the Granny's housing project. This happened so soon after the gunfire that DP thought Brown and McLeod were the ones being shot at. The morning after the killings, DP overheard Brown and McLeod at the Granny's laughing and bragging to other Nutty Blocc Crip members how they hit a lick, which is a robbery. DP told police that Brown and McLeod said they'd obtained a lot of money by robbing Willer. DP was in the habit of buying marijuana from Willer on a daily basis. Willer sold a good light green stress weed that came in chronic bags, once with the green chronic symbol on it. A few days after the killings, Brown began selling marijuana just like the kind Willer used to sell DP. Before Miller was killed, Brown had also never sold marijuana. DP testified that it was the same chronic in the front of the bag, fat sack, and the same ingredients of weed, like a crunchy green. DH was born in Compton and became a Nutty Blocc member when he was 12 years old. He and McLeod had been friends for years. DH also knew Miller. DH had seen Miller with the black AK-47 before the killings. Miller described the model as a 30-30. DH had once borrowed this gun from Miller. DH last saw this rifle in Miller's possession a few weeks before Leggett and Willer were killed. DH also saw a .45 caliber handgun in Brown's possession around the same time Leggett and Willer were killed. The morning after the killings, McLeod told DH that he, Miller, and Brown had robbed and killed Willer. Inmates' family began living in the Granny's neighborhood when she was 11 or 12 years old. Miller moved next door to her. When Inmates was 14 years old, Miller began himself on her, and he subsequently and her to other men. Miller also physically abused Inmates. Their relationship ended in December 2005 when the police rescued her from a Bellflower motel. During October to November of 2005, Inmates saw Miller in possession of a handgun. He also kept guns in the trunk of his car, and he would switch guns with McLeod. The day after the killings, Miller instructed Inmates to tell Willer's mother that Inmates had seen some Mexicans shooting a robber's son. When Inmates refused, Miller got angry. A few minutes later, Brown told her not to go over and get involved. In 2005, Miller owned a black 1999 Grand Pontiac AM with tinted rear windows. No one else in the neighborhood owned a car that looked like his car either. 3 days after the killings, he had also got the car painted gold. In December of 2005, Detective Cochran searched Miller's car, which had been impounded. In the trunk, he found 2 boxes of ammunition and a police scanner. The ammunition was not the same caliber as any of the spent cartridges found in the crime scene, however. ST was the girlfriend of a Nutty Blocc Crip gang member who was close to Brown. The boyfriend of Brown shared an AK-47. After the boyfriend was murdered in August of 2005, Brown came to ST's house every day to check on her and the children. ST herself also became an active Nutty Blocc Crip member in early 2006. She committed a home invasion and 10 snatch and grab robberies with other Nutty Blocc Crip members. Brown also committed some of these robberies with her. In 2006, she and Brown had begun a sexual relationship that lasted till Brown was arrested and went to jail in April 2006. That same year, Brown informed the Department of Corrections that he was living in Long Beach with ST, who he pretended was his sister at the time. Brown told ST to make sure her house was clean because it may be getting searched for a crime that he had committed. Brown said he and McLeod and someone named Jay Capone had shot and killed 2 people on Exmore. Brown said he used the AK-47 to shoot one victim and McLeod had shot the other. In the end, all the Nutty Blocc Compton Crip members were found guilty of the murders of Willer and Leggett and were sentenced to state prison for life without the possibility of parole. Yeah, grimy was the first word that came to mind when going over that story. It's a prime example of how these guys are known to operate. Yeah, that word nutty in their name isn't there for no reason. But let's address who these guys are as we continue to break down the gang.
Resist the gangs. Some of them won't. Some of them have the family, some of them don't. It's hard to see young kids, some of them don't even have a chance. It's not even a door for them to even make it through.
Who are the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips? The Nutty Blocc Compton Crips are an active African-American street gang. Their neighborhood runs from Central Avenue to Wilmington, between Greenleaf and Alondra Boulevard. They're known for getting money, fucking bitches, and overall being some ruthless niggas. But more so, they're known for their brutal means of operations when it comes to their enemies, which is why they are one of the most hated gangs in Compton. Yeah, these guys are ruthless out this way. Try them if you want. It could be your last day. Bars, nigga. Numbers wise, they have around 600 to 1,000 members, making them one of the biggest gangs in Compton. And Nutty Blocc members are known to sport New York Yankees articles of clothing or apparel with letters of NY on it, which means nutty. So if you a op and you in their territory and you see a nigga with this hat on, just cross the street. The NY means he's crazy. He's not from the East. Their main cliques consist of 166th Street and 165th Street, between Hilford Street and Norfolk Avenue, with their main hangout being the Grandy Apartments, which is located on Grandy Avenue inside their territory. And this gang is by far one of the most popular in Compton and Los Angeles County as a whole. If you're a local who's been tapped into the street culture in Los Angeles, you know the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips were featured in the Rep Yo Set compilation album and DVD, which was a project by Reputable Records. And if you haven't tapped in yet, you definitely gotta go check it out after this video. It features a lot of different gangs who tell their personal stories and displays their artists. Hey, but y'all remember this though? Well, it's the knockout. Definition original baby gangster. Approach me like you hard, motherfucker, I'ma bank ya. Bars, nigga. The Nutty Blocc Compton Crips received national notability when BG Knockout and Gangsta Dresta, who were half brothers, both affiliated with the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips by the way, debuted on Eazy-E's single, Real Motherfucking G's in 1993. Cool fact, the song's video was actually shot in the Grandy Apartments, which have been a stronghold for the gang since its foundation. Anyways, in 1995, BG Knockout and Dresta released their debut album, Real Brothers, which spawned 3 singles, 50-50 Love, Jealousy, and DPGK. However, BG Knockout was unfortunately sentenced to 10 to 12 years in prison for attempted murder in 1998, and that definitely sidetracked his career. But these days, he's still definitely doing his thing in the community, and you can still catch him on Vlad TV. It was some dope interviews too. Yeah, the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips have always had artists putting in work in the music scene, but they're also known for having a lot of hitters from the gang as well, and Mike Dog is a big name from the gang. An example of his brutal ways played out in 2014. Isaac Gaston, also known as Ike, Champagne Gaston, Izell Gaston, Frank Gaston, and Keon Easley were all siblings who lived together in an apartment in Compton, California, apartment G to be exact. The apartment was a 2-story unit with a fence and gated patio. Directly inside the front door was the living room area. An internal staircase to the second floor was on the far wall across the front door. A small bathroom was located on the far corner, near the staircase. The apartment complex was in the territory of the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips. Ike was a member of this gang. Izell, Champagne, Frank, and Keon were also all affiliated with the gang. Dunn, Harris, and Grisette were also all members of the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips. Champagne had known Harris and Grisette since childhood. Harris's moniker was Juju, and Grisette's moniker was Chop Chop. Champagne was also close with Jasmine Harris, a blood relative of Harris. Izell had known Dunn for about 10 years. Dunn's moniker was Mike Dog. On March 9th of 2014, Champagne threw a party with Harris at the Gaston family apartments to celebrate the birthday of a friend Harris, pay off bills, and raise money for the Gaston family to move. Over 100 people attended the party, including members of the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips and the Santana Blocc Compton Crips. Also, many of Harris's relatives and friends attended the party, including his brothers, Daryl, and Darnell, sisters, Darnisha and Samaya, a cousin, and friends, Rita Richardson and Jasmine Lopez. And at first, everything was going smooth. The party was lit, with drinks going around, people smoking, but the party was disrupted when Grisette started scaring people, stating they was about to shoot up the party. Champagne told him to stop and calm down, and he did so. But later on that night, Grisette began disparaging other gang members, saying fuck different gangs, fuck Front Hood and Santana. At this point, Champagne told Grisette she was canceling the party, and she began yelling, "The party's over, everybody go home." She told Harris that she was shutting the party down. Harris then told Champagne that they ain't shutting down shit, and told Ike, "You better tell Champagne she ain't shutting down nothing." The verbal dispute escalated into a series of physical altercations, followed by a gun battle. The first physical confrontation occurred at the apartment's gated patio. When Harris blocked Champagne's entry through the patio gate, she pushed him to enter. Then as Champagne went through the apartment, Harris and Ike began fighting on the patio. Harris threw the first punch at Ike and missed. Then Ike punched Harris, knocking him on the ground. The fight turned to an all-out brawl, with 5 or 6 Nutty Blocc affiliates, including Grisette, joining the attack on Ike. Grisette escalated the fight by swinging a knife, stabbing Ike. Frank attempted to defend his brother by pushing the attackers away. After the fight on the outside patio, Ike was woozy, stumbling, and bleeding heavily from his head. His brothers and cousins carried him into the apartment. The second physical confrontation ensued in the apartment. Harris challenged Ike to a fight again, stating, "You gotta catch my fate again." Harris accused Ike of stabbing him and lifted his shirt to show a bleeding cut. And for the first time in the incident, a gun appeared. In his hand, Ike had a gun pointing up and began waving in a circular motion. Keon tried without success to take the gun away from Ike, as Champagne ran up the stairs and called the police. After the verbal challenge, another physical fight broke out in the living room involving Harris, his brothers, and Grisette, battling Ike's brothers, Izell and Keon. Grisette again swung a knife, cutting Izell in his right elbow. Izell and Frank were able to push Ike halfway up the internal staircase away from the fight. By that time, Ike was bleeding profusely and semi-conscious. Frank forced some of the partygoers out of the apartment, including Harris and Grisette, and locked the door. Keon recalled seeing Ike holding a .44 Magnum revolver before Ike was carried up the stairs and before Harris and Grisette came inside. Keon later testified that he only noticed the gun in Ike's hand when he was on the stairs. The situation didn't end there though. Dunn, another Nutty Blocc member, joined the conflict for the first time. When Dunn yelled from the outside apartment, "Jasmine," Open the door, bitch. Jasmine, who was Harris's relative, opened the door. Dunn, then Harris, entered and each fired multiple shots. Dunn shooting first towards the staircase, bearing Ike and his siblings, Izell, Champagne, Keon, and Frank. None of the siblings shot back. Ike was shot in the chest and front shoulder. The chest shot was fatal. On the night of the shooting, witnesses and bystanders were uncooperative for law enforcement. Ike's family members did not immediately tell law enforcement what they knew about the shooting because they didn't want to be looked at as snitches or they were scared for their lives. Yeah, Keon also talked to police at the hospital after the shooting, but he lied about his name and his birthday because he was nervous and scared. That same night, Izell went to the police station but did not corroborate or identify the shooters because the shooters were active gang members and he thought he and his family could get hurt. Forensic evidence suggested a gun battle. The ballistics evidence was consistent with two people standing at or near the front of apartment G, shooting into the apartment. One shooting a 9mm handgun, the other shooting a .32 caliber handgun. Additional spent casing, bullet, and bullet fragments were found on the patio outside of the fence, suggested that someone shot a 9mm handgun from the walkway towards apartment G. Evidence also was consistent with another shooter firing a revolver from inside the apartment from an area near the bathroom, using the cabinet as cover and firing towards the front door. Finally, a bag of .45 caliber Smith & Wesson special rounds and a single live round were found at the bottom of the stairs, and a holster for a large frame revolver was found in the upstairs bedroom. Los Angeles County sheriffs testified that the killings were done for the benefit of the gang. They said fear and respect are important concepts in gang culture. Gangs must be feared by rival members to instill fear in the community to operate as a gang. If a gang member is disrespected, this would be seen as weakness. Thus, a disrespected gang member would expect to retaliate in a more aggressive manner. He said if he was slapped, he had to punch. If he was punched, he had to stab. If he was stabbed, he had to shoot. Shooting and killing someone who disrespected a gang member would be considered putting in work for the gang and would earn respect among fellow gang members. The shooting of a fellow gang member who had acted disrespectfully would benefit the individual shooter by raising his status within the gang by creating fear and respect, and would benefit the gang by instilling fear and respect by enemy gangs. Ultimately, due to forensics evidence, witness statements, and testimonies from officers, the trial court sentenced Harris to 45 years to life in prison. Man, rest in peace to Ike, but that's just another example of how ruthless these guys can get when pushed to that level. Shit, even internally, if it's issues, you can get it too. Anyways, trust, it's a lot more insane shit we're about to address, but we have to go over the danger rating and some history before we can do all that. Danger rating of the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips.
Violent end to Sunday afternoon. 2 people are dead and 5 are wounded after a shooting in San Pedro. Roughly 500 people were at Peck Park when witnesses say a man rolled up and started shooting, then others shot back.
No matter how far we kept running, all you kept hearing was the gunshot.
The Nutty Blocc Compton Crips are going to receive a danger rating of a 9.5 out of 10 based off of the gang's long history in Compton and beyond. These guys have been making headlines in Compton since the gang's foundation and continue to put in work to this day. Yeah, gang hits, setups, robberies, and so much more, this gang is known for all that. Yeah, that term nutty comes with a long resume to help justify why they decide to go by that moniker. Yeah, the Nutty Blocc Crips are known to pop off. If you're an op and they got a shot, trust you getting dropped. Bars, nigga. But that's just my opinion though. What do y'all think? Would y'all went higher or lower? Y'all let me know in the comments. Let's have a conversation about it. And give me some reasons on why too. Also, you guys got any crazy stories about these guys? Any close calls? Y'all let me know in the comments about that as well.
Gangbangers over here, leave it over here, man. We doing this, let us finish this, man. This shit ain't gonna go nowhere, but that's all it's leading to is death. Why y'all wanna follow us? Y'all wanna die? Fuck it. That's on y'all. We trying to tell y'all this shit us. Leave it to us. Let us do it. Even I'm a young gangster, nigga, but I'm gonna keep it to like on G though, man. I'm A1 for the little kids, man. Let us gangbang. We already old. We in this shit. I mean, let us finish this shit.
History of the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips. The history of the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips goes back over 5 decades to around the 1960s. Starting off in the grimy apartments, this is a group of kids playing together, growing up with one another, and overall just moving as a family. They originally referred to themselves as the Granny Boys, in reference to the local housing projects they resided in. And they quickly became a unit that was known for protecting the area. Yeah, it wasn't any spray paint allowed on their houses, no disrespecting the elderly, and most importantly, helping those who couldn't help themselves. And all this was before the Crip title was brought to the area by the infamous Mac Thomas and Tookie Williams. Yeah, this group stayed together like glue, even attending the same schools like Caldwell, Walton, and Compton High School. So by the time gang politics started to come into play, this group was more than ready to transition to Crips. Originally, they were known as the 6'5 Blocc Crips. Kind of a side note, they spell the word block as B-L-O-C-C because in gang culture, writing CK means Crip killer. And been established in the early 1970s means these guys are the first Blocc Crips. But the gang went through a few transitions in terms of names, including the Granny Crips, and they were active in Compton from about 1973 and continued on for the rest of the decade. But by 1983, there was an identity shift made by a new generation of Crips that took on a new name, Nutty Blocc. So let's be clear, Granny Crips are Nutty Blocc Crip members too. They're basically the OGs of the gang, the originators. Anyways, the name Nutty represented the gang perfectly, especially in the 1980s when crack hit the streets and gangs going to war over territory grew more intense. With the influx of money in these neighborhoods due to crack came more deadly military style guns, which included assault rifles like AK-47s, SMGs like Uzis, and the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips were known for having them all. And on top of that, their militant maze made them one of the most notorious Crip gangs to come out of Compton. This is why they have a long list of rivals they're known to go to war with.
We in enemy hood. We in enemy hood. T-Black right here. 165 Street SDK. We doing it, Crip, baby. It's Nutty Blocc Compton. Anybody, Nutty Blocc. Westside Nutty Blocc. Westside Nutty Blocc.
Rivals are the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips. The Nutty Blocc Compton Crips are one of the most hated gangs in Compton, so they don't have a lot of allies. A few of them include the Southside Compton Crips, the Atlanta Drive Compton Crips, original Front Hood Compton Crips, and the original Swamp Compton Crips. And that's pretty much it. When it comes to rivals though, that list is long. The Nutty Blocc Compton Crips beef with the Westside Pyrus, the Capitol Park Pyrus, the 151 Block Pyrus, the Cabbage Patch Pyrus, the Center View Pyrus, like the Farm Dog Compton Crips, Spooktown Compton Crips, Neighborhood Compton Crips, Lantana Block Compton Crips, Trignop Park Compton Crips, and the Anzac Great Compton Crips. Yeah, they're definitely known to go at it with all these gangs. But there's one war that's been making headlines and they've been going at it for decades, and honestly, they still hate each other to this day. Beef with ATF. The beef for ATF is based off of the demographics of Compton, California, and each gang's alliances. ATF is an umbrella of 3 different gangs that ally with each other, and each of these gangs is smaller compared to other Compton gangs, so more protection was really the objective. The gangs include the Acacia Block Crips, the Spooktown Crips, and the Farm Dog Crips, and ATF claimed territory bordering that claimed by Nutty Blocc. Over the years, there'd be tit-for-tat shootouts and fights, but an all-out war played out between ATF and Nutty Blocc in 2013. And unfortunately, Thomas Dunbar, a non-gang member, was caught in the crossfire of it all. Thomas Dunbar and his wife Mary Dunbar lived with their daughter, Linda Carter, at a house located on South Norwood Avenue in Compton, California. McCarter's twin sons, Keontae and Deontay McCarter, lived there as well. Thomas was partially paralyzed and Mary suffered from dementia. Their bedrooms were in the front house and faced the street. The residence was located in the area claimed as the territory of the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips. Keontae and Deontay were both members of this gang, as well as other family members and the twins' friend, Brandon Friesen. The Dunbar residence was also known as a Nutty Blocc hangout. Another Crip gang, ATF, was comprised of 3 gangs that had joined forces: Acacia Block, Spooktown, and Farm Dogs. Soares was an admitted member of the Spooktown gang and bore gang tattoos including MBK, which stood for Nutty Blocc Killer. On the morning of July 25th, 2013, at approximately 10 a.m., Friesen was waiting for the McCarter twins in the front porch of the Dunbar residence, talking on the phone while the twins changed inside the house. Mary was inside asleep in one of the front bedrooms, and Lenny had just laid across the foot of Mary's bed. Thomas was in the other front room, closest to the front door. A silver Audi A4 and a charcoal gray Toyota traveled slowly down northward. 2 black men were sitting inside each vehicle. As one of the vehicles approached the Dunbar residence, 2 men inside fired over 20 shots at the house. Friesen fled into the Dunbar house as soon as the shooting began. Thomas had been shot 3 times, including 1 shot to the head that later proved fatal. He had also been hit by bullet fragments. Paramedics transferred him to the hospital where he died of his injuries. The police investigations of the crime revealed that at least 3 guns were used in the shooting, In the undercover operation, Sawyers made statements indicating that he fired the rifle. A witness told detectives that a week prior to the shooting, one or both of the McCarter twins had beaten up Sawyers. On the morning of the shooting, the witness observed Sawyers armed with a large gun, set off with other gang members and 2 cars to kill the McCarter twins. In the end, due to evidence from multiple witnesses and forensics evidence, the trial court sentenced Sawyers to 75 years to life. Yeah, this one is sad, bruh. Thomas was 84 years old. He was never involved in any gangs, but his grandkids had a heavy attachment to the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips. This is another example of how no one is safe when you're a gang member. And bullets don't have any names. Prominent figures from the set.
Niggas already know what's up, my nigga. They know Nutty Blocc started Compton Crips. We put it on the game. If it wasn't for us, niggas couldn't do a motherfucking thing.
The Nutty Blocc Compton Crips have a lot of prominent figures who have made the gang what it is. But doing my research, I also found a list of members who are no longer with us, so rest in peace to them. A few of them include Dante Smith, also known as Tiny No Good, who was fatally shot by Clarence McKinnon, also known as Peanut, and Glenn Washington, also known as LG, who were from Trignall Compton Crips, in retaliation for the April 2006 murder of Clarence's younger brother, Anthony McKinnon, by Dejon Lee Craig, also known as DJ, from Nutty Blocc Compton Crips. Also rest in peace to Cedric Pollard, who was also known as Lil Seg, Daryl James Tucker, also known as Chubbs, who was just 16 when he died on March 3rd of 2005. Ricky Holden was also known as Rick Dog, who passed in 1989, and Tywone Rouse, also known as Smoke, who passed on November 17th of 2003. Yeah, rest in peace to all of them, and y'all let me know if any members who are no longer with us, man. Let their lanes live on, let their lanes live on. It's also a lot of members who have helped put the gang on the map. A few of them include Momo, Salty, Mike T, Kitty Welch, Big Mike Scott, Hack 3, Mike Dog, C-Nut, C-Lope, Infant Good, Bomber, and Baby Hat. They also have a lot of rappers who have always represented the gang. Some of the older rappers include King T, BG Knockout, and Dress of the Gangster, who put out a lot of music throughout the 1990s. Some of the younger rappers include Young Thriller, real cool, funny bars, catchy hooks, but his most recent release, from what I can see, was from 4 years ago. So y'all let me know in the comments if he's still dropping music. Also is Baylo, also known as Geechee Gotti, who's more of a battle rapper these days. Do you believe in the parallel universe? I do. Man, where can I start with this guy? He's straight from the gutter of Compton, but these days, he's battle rapping for no less than 100,000. He's literally made a full circle transition from being strictly a street nigga to a businessman. And he's one of, if not the best battle rapper out right now. Bro, the way he battles, nigga, I really feel bad for his opponents. Like, he comes for your soul. He gonna look up any dirt you done did, any dirt your girl done did, and he gonna call you out on it. And he's calling you all type of bitches in between that. Just definitely pulling your car. Overall, very disrespectful if you one of his victims, but entertaining as fuck if you was a fan. Look, real shit, I'm disrespectful. It's about time niggas get that. I show up to where your mama stay, knock on the floor, then when daddy answer, I'ma push him out the way like, nigga, where my bitch at? Bars, nigga. And this is Geechee Gotti from over 7 years ago. This nigga is 100 times more disrespectful today, I can promise you that. On top of all that though, he also hosts his own podcast on the No Studio and Network, where he does dope interviews and different vlogs and things like that. But one of the dopest thing about bruh is probably how he's constantly giving back to the community he came from. Matter of fact, Baylo was recently awarded and recognized by the state of California for his charity work in the city of Compton. He's hosted multiple holiday and food drives and even organized job fair events supporting black businesses. And let me just add this message to the trolls who are probably still gonna comment some borderline racist shit. Nigga, you don't know us. From the outside looking in, yeah, you see gang members who made their own choices and are in this situation solely because they don't want to better themselves. But from the inside, it's genuine people who never had a choice in the lifestyle they're in. They were literally born into it. But in the end, if given the right opportunities, I put my last dollar on the fact that we're not only come up and kill shit, but we'll also give back. And Geechee Gotti is a prime example of all that. But anyways, y'all definitely tap in with bruh. Is there any other artists I'm missing too? Y'all let me know in the comments, man. Let's get their music heard.
What year is this? I got goons. I got goons, my nigga. I got goons. Lowest possible. And we got burners. And we got burners. And we got burners. We got the burners.
Current state of the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips. There are more than 65 gangs jammed into 10 square miles in Compton, California. different Compton Crips, Front Hood Crips, and Pirus, all willing to do whatever it takes to defend their area. Shit, some of their turf is no bigger than a football field, but trust, they'll defend it against any perceived slight. Yeah, that's how it's been for almost 5 decades. This is how a lot of the gangs in the area are still around to this day. When it comes to the current state of the Nutty Blocc Compton Crips, today they stand as one of the biggest, most notorious, and hated gangs in Compton, California. Even with several gang injunctions placed on the gang, they still remain one of the most active gangs in Compton, and they've even grown to the point where they have subsets in different states as well, like Oklahoma and Arkansas. But y'all let me know in the comments if I'm missing your state, man. Rep for your state. Anyways, with prominent figures like Balo, the gang will always have people who represent the gang exactly how they're supposed to, with respect and fear. But don't get it twisted. These guys make it clear that this lifestyle is dangerous. They lose friends, family, and either their time due to prison. If you're young and watching this, shit, even if you're old, just know what these guys go through on a daily and think, is this a lifestyle you want to live or continue to live? Looking over your shoulder, getting shot, losing friends? Y'all stay safe and dangerous out there.